and welcome back to the channel, friends. My name's Colt. Thank you for joining me. We are taking the maiden voyage on the new-to-me truck I just bought. It's a 2012 Ram 3500 with the 6.7 Cummins. And my initial impressions going down the highway is this is going to work out nice. The diesel just has more power than the gas. You know, it's essentially the same body size as my old Ford. I talked about that in the last video. So check that out if you haven't already. We discussed kind of the issue I created with buying this. The trailer and lift setup is just my old 5.4 gas Triton motor was struggling to get it going, you know, 60 miles an hour down the road. But like I said, the Cummins is doing quite well so far. We had her up on the highway and I was going 65 no problem. She had a lot more left to give too. So we'll be to the job about 15 minutes. We'll get unpacked. I've got like 3 trees to take down, so stick with me on that. It's mostly a no cleanup. I do have my buddy Tim, who's my stump grinder. He's a subcontractor for me. He's going to be showing up, and the client, my client, does want the wood hauled. So he's got to have his Bobcat there to push his big stumper back down into where the stumps are. So I figured since he has his machine there anyway, I'll just contract him to haul the wood. The nice thing with that is it's a one-trip deal for me today. So quit babbling, let's get to the job. Alright, lift started right up. I cycled the gold plugs twice. So that's the benefit. I ran the heater last night, all night long. And it was 51 degrees when I left the shop this morning. And by the time I got to the job, it's still 33 degrees in here. That's awesome. It was, and then for the record, it's like, I think it was like 10 degrees this morning. So just cold enough to where you'd want to get your machine warm. So that's running now and going to warm up a little bit more. I'll get her unstrapped, and then we got a little bit of a track down to get at the trees. Kind of see the trees behind the house we're going after. Not sure what happened to my camera audio, but I'm pointing out the trees were taken down here. That's an ash, dead ash on the right, and a few fairly tall willow trees on the left there. This is where I'm wanting to set up and try and get all 3 of the trees at the same time. Currently where the lift is at is positioned by a tree I have to prune. I wound up not filming that. I got that pruning done, and then I did move back around and position kind of in the middle of those 3 trees, and was able to get all 3 of them done with one setup. All right, YouTube, we're set up here. I got to get a couple of these branches off the ash tree first before we go after that willow. I think I want to get that willow down as soon as possible. Sorry about the audio here with the chainsaw. It doesn't sound like that in real life. I've got a mic connected to the camera, and it works really good for the voice, but it makes the chainsaw sound like it's underwater. So I do apologize about that. All right, onto this willow. It's kind of a tall tree. So if this is your first time watching any of my videos, This is a new to me spider lift. It's a 72-foot platform basket brand, and this is only like my third or fourth job with it. Now, the irony that I call my channel Climbing Colt and I'm working out of a spider lift is definitely not lost on me, so I do feel the need to explain myself just a bit. That'll go with a little bit of my backstory. So the path that led me to purchasing this lift is probably not unlike a lot of other tree professionals, I'm sure. When I first started my business, I climbed everything, and I would only really rent a lift on occasion for some of the what I consider trickier trees. I was definitely like climber proud, like I don't need a lift to go up in that and get that tree work done. But as the years went by and I started to get a little bit older and maybe had more work, I found a good deal on an older 40-foot like pull style, like pull behind lift, and a lot of you have seen that in my previous videos, and I've been using that for quite a few years already. It's become apparent to me in the last probably year or two that I probably need to make an upgrade, and that's for a couple different reasons, mainly because that lift is just getting kind of old and maybe not quite as safe. And the second is it's just too short to reach a lot of what I'm asking it to reach anymore. So when I was trying to decide what to upgrade to, there was basically two main overarching themes that led me to buy the spider lift, or at least know that I needed some sort of a self-drive lift. And that was one, my geographical area that I do tree work in, and number two, the style of tree work that I prefer. So the first is I live in the Midwest and we have mostly decurrent style trees, so they're relatively short but wide spreading, not unlike a large portion of the US and other parts of the world. And the second is that I mainly do tree work solo. Oh, that's Max, YouTube. So we get to do some rigging. We're up here, it's max height. This is just a baby little top here. Should be fine, I think. Just Now that we got the top out of the first tree, back to the discussion. So what this 72-foot tracked lift allows me to do is obviously access most of the trees I need to, and with the 72 feet, given my geographical area, mostly short trees, is tall enough to reach most of the trees that I needed to reach. And what any lift allows one single operator to do is get out on the tips and do what I'm doing here, just cutting and chucking the trees down safe and sound. So at the risk of being dogmatic, this is what I find is the most efficient setup for me as a solo operator. Just being able to crawl into backyards like this with a spider lift and getting the tree on the ground all by myself. However, that's not to say I'm never going to climb a tree again or have somebody run ropes for me. Really, it's all going to depend on the individual job and how it lays out. That's what I find cool about tree work, is that each job is essentially a new problem to solve, and there's a lot of different ways potentially to go about solving that problem. Well, I'm gonna just come down and I'm gonna see what this thing looks like from the ground quick. Tim's got this all-wheel steer Bobcat. It's pretty sweet. I don't think they make them anymore. Just gotta get these logs out of his way so we can grind these couple stumps here. It's nice, the ground is good and firm. We've had frigid temperatures last 3 or 4 days. Supposed to get to 22 today. Probably like 12, 15 right now. No damage to the ground. Couple trips in. That's nice. Actually, we had most of the snow melt away recently too, and then it got cold, so it was about perfect for firming up the ground to get back into this job. I've kind of been waiting for these conditions to do this one. I knew I had to track back in. That'd have been a nightmare to lay down plywood the whole way. So there's Tim's setup with that all-wheel steer. He can really sneak into backyards. And he's got his big stumper. Normally he leaves it on his truck. It's a Carlton. I think he's got like a 60 horse joints on it. So 7500. Just push her back with that. And he's not skidding because it's technically not a skid steer. But he can really get back into yards without tearing anything up too bad. It's great. So he's got quite a few stumps to grind back here. So that's why we, again, wanted these firm conditions to get this whole setup back here. Otherwise you'd have to bring a small stumper and it would have taken quite a bit longer. Show you some of the process here. I could technically leave right now, but I like hanging out with these guys. They're good dudes. do it. All the stumps ground, marked out. Pull out now, Tim is. There it goes. That's that. That was basically a down only. We obviously hauled a little bit of that willow. Client wanted to keep some of this wood, or most of the wood, for his fireplace inside. The willow's not great for that, I told him, but the ash is good, and he was going to take care of the brush, and then it was just a grind only. We are on our way home. Job went great. This truck's pulling the trailer really good too. She's loud. 5-inch straight pipe, so hopefully you can hear me okay. But the wind has picked up, and I can definitely feel the wind pushing against that trailer a little bit. It's quite a sail, that trailer. I do appreciate you all joining me. I'll leave links at the end of the video to a few more of my videos, and we'll catch you all on the next one.